Hello everyone and welcome back to the 343 Football Podcast. Once again it's your host Jaffa and I'm joined by Daud, Ali and Qudama. How's everyone doing?
Going? You alright?
Just been enjoying some of the football lately. Obviously we're all still in lockdown. The football's on every day and there's more fixtures to come in with week, so if you're into it then it's good times really. And we're picking up pace in the Premier League in particular, and that's the league I want us to focus on just at the start of the podcast today. With specific mention to Manchester City because, in recent years you've had Manchester City and Liverpool blowing everyone out of the water. It's a two-team race. This year it seems like there's multiple teams involved, but are we finally witnessing maybe a breakaway and it's going to be Manchester City that's the favourite, do you guys think?
I don't know. There's a lot of twists and turns in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that because of how impressive they've been, they're not scoring 7s and 6s like when they first dominated in 17-18, but it's the clean sheets in particular that seems to be giving them an advantage over everyone else. The defensive record out of nowhere is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, obviously they've done something which they always do, the £50 million signing for Ruben Diaz, and it's made a massive difference. But there's also another £50 million man from years back, which is John Stones, and he seems to be sort of the key figure, doesn't he, in terms of how reinvigorated they've been lately?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that trio, isn't it? I mean, what's the stat? Him, Edison and Diaz haven't conceded yet when they've been on the pitch together, which is an absolutely insane record, because I think it's something now like 4 or 5, if not more, odd games, isn't it? I'm not sure. I can't remember the stat. I remember it was doing the rounds after they won a few games ago. I don't know if you guys remember when I said a few weeks back that I still fancied Liverpool for the title. That's not looking too good now, that prediction, because it's like you say, Man City have almost returned to their roots under Guardiola, where they're playing out of their skins. Their defence is solid, their attack is scoring. I think I read an article a few days ago where Guardiola said that they've tried to revert back to type. Like the last season, they couldn't play with the high and wide wingers like they were when he first joined. And they've started to do that more with their wingers hitting form again, and it's paying dividends. I mean, no one in the league right now looks close to their level in terms of form. I think they've won their last 5 games now, if not more, and they're just looking like they're going to run away with it.
I agree. If you have to look at it, the one game behind, the 3 points ahead of United. So if they win the next game against Burnley, which they most likely will, to be fair, Burnley have sometimes been a bit of a bogey team for them. You have a look at their last 10 matches. They've nearly won every single one. If my maths is correct, 10, 11. Yeah, it's crazy. And like you said, they're hardly conceding any goals in the league. They're showing everybody how it's done. Don't get me wrong, the last match against Sheffield United, and they only won 1-0. However, they never looked like they were going to concede, even though they were holding on to just a 1-0 lead. Now, if that isn't, a character of a title-winning team, I don't know what is. Whereas, considering Manchester United, we always look like we're just, just clawing our ways all the way to the 90th minute. Whereas Manchester City are, cruising to the 90th minute, comfortably seeing it out. The same with Liverpool, to be fair. The injuries are hampering that comfortable aspect of them seeing out games.
I mean, Man City aren't actually unknown to go on runs like this. If you guys remember when they last won the league, they had that unbelievable run of form after they dropped points against Newcastle, and then they went on to win the remaining 14 games. A lot of people talk about Liverpool being, mentality monsters under Klopp and having that cutting edge in just seeing out games, like you say, or winning when they're not playing well. But Man City aren't that far behind in that aspect. So as unpredictable as this season is, I wouldn't be surprised to see Man City go on another unbelievable run. I mean, they've got a tougher run of fixtures than they did in January coming up this month. I think they play Liverpool, they play Arsenal and Tottenham. So it'll be probably by the end of this month that we'll see who's really going to be at the top of the table come the end of the season.
Do you guys remember that really famous Liverpool Manchester City match? In I think it was the correct me if I'm wrong, but it was either in the 17. No, it must have been in the 18-19 season when there was that clearance off the line and Sane and
Yeah, I
Aguero scored to
remember
give Man
that.
City
For
the 2-1
fuck's
win.
sake, I remember that. Yeah, I remember it. It was the
You think that this
unluckiest game in
so
history.
I'm not bringing it up just to mess with you, Ali, because I know you're a big Liverpool fan. The reason I'm bringing it up is because Liverpool and Man City is a very close coming fixture, and do you think that the one coming up has a similar sort of vibe and feel to that 2-1 game? Like it's the same significance, really.
No, that was a lot more closer, a lot more tighter as well. I don't think this is as tight with Liverpool being very leaky in the back and Man City just, defending really well and Guardiola getting this new burst of energy out of this Man City team out of nowhere. I don't think at all. That game was totally different where Liverpool were at their peak, Man City were at their peak. Right now, Liverpool are leaking goals left, right and centre. Obviously, trying to bring defensive reinforcements, but Man City going to run away with it. It's only one way I can see it, really.
Both teams were at their peak back then, and even though this is another important game for the top of the table, I don't think it will be as high level as it was back then. Because honestly, I don't know about you guys, but I think that might be one of the most high quality games of football I've seen in the Premier League. Honestly, don't remember
not just that.
Two teams having 22 players that are almost world class in every position.
Yeah. Kodama, it's just not that though. It's also the quality of players. You had Sane there, you had a prime Firmino. You had quality players all over the pitch, and it was just great attacking football.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that level of football, both Manchester City and Liverpool have fallen off.
I just thought you meant the two teams. I was talking about the quality of players. Now, obviously, Sane's been replaced by Fernand Torres, and other players have been replaced, and the Liverpool players have been getting a bit older. So I don't think the intensity is there as it used to be.
The one thing that I feel as well is that particular match, the 2-1, as you say, one of the most high quality Premier League matches you'll ever see, and I feel like it sort of was a bit reminiscent to when Real Madrid and Barcelona were squaring off, when it was the height of the Ronaldo Messi Clásicos, where you had the supporting cast like Di Maria, Ozil, Iniesta, Xavi. It sort of felt like that. I've never really felt of the Premier League sort of reaching the height of those Clásico matches, but when I watched that match, I got that vibe as well. So it's kind of a shame to me that Liverpool have dropped off, and it's circumstantial. Like the injuries, you can never legislate for them. And it's not like Klopp is, he's declined in a Mourinho type of sense. He's still an incredible manager, but you kind of, for me, in terms of the Premier League being interesting, I really like the narrative that them two have set in the last few years, and I wish that. Because last year, Man City dropped off from it, and this year, Liverpool have dropped off from it, whereas I really enjoy it more when them two kind of neck and neck, and the quality of football they pushed on each other to achieve as well. So for me, as much as Man City's improvements are enjoyable, I might say this, and I don't know if you disagree, I still don't think this Manchester City team is as impressive as they were 2 years ago, even with this renewed defensive solidity and this form that they've gone on to, in recent weeks.
I agree. I mean, I still think that Liverpool, look what they did to Tottenham midweek, and how easily they, breezed past West Ham. So I think once they get past this rough patch of injuries and they have players start to come back, we will see Manchester City and Liverpool playing at a much higher level than they are even now, and that's with Man City's current form. So yeah, that peak probably won't be reached again, but I don't think it won't be seen again or matched again. To a certain extent, so it'll be interesting
Liverpool
to see that game.
Always have a bad January as well.
Yeah, they do, don't they? That's a common thing with Klopp, and there's also another thing. People have
They
drawn
always
comparisons.
have a bad January.
People have drawn comparisons with his last season at Dortmund. I mean, I don't know what you make of that. Like, is there something to be said that Klopp's style of football eventually takes its toll on a group of players, and they just can't match that energy going into their, what is it now, seventh?
Yeah.
Is it the sixth or seventh season?
Yeah, it does.
Merseyside.
I totally agree with that.
So what do you think the solution is there? Like, what's Klopp supposed to be doing?
It's just getting more quality in, but then what can you do with the injuries? We've had injuries up front, we've had injuries in defence. We had no defence. Literally, we've got no centre-back. Even though there's rumours centre-backs are getting signed and whatnot, there's actually no official senior centre-back in that Liverpool team right now. And in January, it was always the African Cup of Nations thing going on. So all Liverpool players which were African went off, and the decline came from there as well.
Yeah, so I mean, Man City's uptick in form has pretty much impressed everyone, and you could consider them title favourites at this point, really. They've got a game in hand on second, and I think if they win it, they go 6 points clear. But the Liverpool match is at Anfield as well, and I know that finally they've lost the league match at Anfield, and it had to be a team like Sean Dyche's Burnley.
It's always
to do
going
it.
to happen.
It wasn't Man City who rolled into town and broke that record. I think that might work better in Liverpool's favour, though. Do you know what I mean? Because now you could have pinpointed that match if the streak was still not unbroken. You could have pinpointed that match. Say, okay, Man City's probably going to finally end the Anfield hoodoo. But I think because Burnley sort of hit the reset button on that streak, I just think Liverpool are going to be playing a little bit calmer, and the Anfield effect is going to probably see. I actually think Liverpool would.
I don't think
game,
that. I don't think that at all. I think there's not going to be any pressure on Liverpool anymore. That record was obviously something holding them back from obviously going free flowing football at Anfield. Liverpool gonna go full Klopp heavy metal football. I can't wait to see it come. The album should be coming out soon.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be one of the best games of this season for sure, I think. It's definitely one of those cliche 6-pointers, right? I mean, Liverpool are now chasing Manchester City a little bit, and I guess the biggest tell will be how Manchester City play, I think Wednesday night. Or was it Thursday
Guys, can
night
I quickly
against
say
Burnley
something?
Yeah?
Kodama, right? What I just want to say is, we talk about Man City and Liverpool being in this title race. Nobody gives a fuck about Manchester United. That's a funny thing about it.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to bring up a point. I wanted to ask. I was like, do you guys think? Do you guys see anybody else having, being a bit of a dark horse in the title race? But
not
to be
Manchester
honest, when I look
United.
at the rest of the league, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by anyone. I mean, a lot of people were touting Chelsea. Definitely not Manchester United. I mean, if you watch the game against Arsenal, it shows that their position on the top of the table was one of the many others that happened throughout the season. You had Southampton, Leeds, and Everton, I think, at one point, where you knew it wouldn't last because, the teams never really passed the eye test. They never really impressed, and Manchester United were no different. And a lot of people touted Chelsea at the start of the season to be somewhat dark horses, but we all know how that ended up. So, yeah, I mean, is there anyone really that, I don't know, you guys, is there anyone really that you see as being outsiders to the title race at all?
Nope.
Just Liverpool, and because I think Man City and Liverpool are going to be first and second. No, I'm not saying Liverpool will win it, but I think they'll be the closest run thing to Man City. I think Liverpool will end up finishing second in the league from this.
What about Leicester City or
none of them?
Tottenham.
None of them
coming back. Tuchel has made Chelsea play pretty
I'll be honest. Tottenham, and I've been trying to kind of not agree that Mourinho's past it, because I just think when you talk about a manager like him and saying past it, it's very dismissive, it's very reductive. There's a lot of nuance to discussing Mourinho, but the more he's been in the Premier League in recent seasons, I would say since his second stint at Chelsea, the 15-16 season, he's been having to prove himself a little bit, because that season was a disaster and it sort of hit his reputation a bit. Obviously, he won those 2 trophies at Man United. People thought, okay, he's still a winner. It doesn't matter where he is; he'll get you the trophies. But he's got a final coming up in the League Cup, and I suppose it lacks prestige. But if he wins that, I guess he could maybe shut up his doubters a little bit. But as far as title contention goes, or even Champions League contention, I'm not feeling too confident about Tottenham's chances the way they're playing at the moment.
Do you see them having a chance at the Europa League?
Nope.
No, because I feel like in the Europa League, I mean, I'm sure they'll get to the latter stage, like the quarter-final, but there's always the teams that drop down from the Champions League are too strong. And I mean, come on, it's not even the fact that they're not that very good. They don't even know how to create high-quality chances against the lesser sides in the league. Never mind the higher sides, you know what I mean? So Brighton pretty much had a comfortable victory against them just now. And I'm not considering Tottenham. In terms of Leicester, it's a bridge too far for them. They're a great side, but you can't be talking about Leicester City in the title. I think they need to focus on doing something that they bottled last year, which is securing Champions League football.
I agree with that. What do the three teams, one of them's crappy United, the other one's Spurs, and Leicester all have? What do they all have in common? They all play in the Europa League. Those games are going to take its toll on the players. Just remember that. Manchester United fans, they could just be sucking themselves off, talk about how great Manchester United are, but look, the ship's going to sink, right? That's all it is. they're going to sink in and they're going to disappear again. I just want to say that. I haven't really heard much from Dowd now. Where's he gone? Has he went to the bathroom or something?
I'm just playing my cards close to my heart, because I don't want to say that Man United.
Man, they're not going to win a league, man. They're not going to win a league. Year,
but I'm saying that we're definitely putting a very good challenge to mount it up for next year. Definitely.
Speaking of challenges, we've got Thomas Tuchel now appointed at Chelsea, and there's a challenge for him to save something out of Chelsea's season. I know that Ali was a long-time critic of Frank Lampard's ability. You've always said that he never really proved himself up to that job. All he did was have a promotion playoff run for Derby County, and he didn't even succeed in doing it. So obviously, there's a much more decorated manager in Tuchel coming in. He just got PSG to their first Champions League after their new money era. He's always been known for the attractive football he played with Dortmund, and of course his success with Mainz. So a little bit of a similar Klopp trajectory there. Not 100% the same, but there are similarities. Do you think that the Tuchel appointment is one that should excite Chelsea fans? Can they go far with him as manager, or are we going to be talking in 2 years' time of a new Chelsea manager because Tuchel, won one trophy and then had a bad run of 8 games the next season, so he was sacked by Abramovich?
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. Next season, Chelsea champions under Thomas Tuchel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a big.
That's how much I rate this guy.
Big claim.
He got Mainz to European football, playing in the Europa League.
Has he even won a trophy yet?
Yeah, he's won trophies.
Has he even won a trophy?
Yeah, he's won trophies.
Yeah, in PSG, he won the league. I mean, it's not the biggest.
Dortmund, he won trophies at Dortmund.
With Dortmund, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he won.
You tell me,
Pokal, didn't he?
From Mainz getting them from relegation threatened team to European football, to Europa League. Bear in mind, Manchester United are in that competition. That's firstly.
But let's be honest though.
He left because the board.
Let's be honest though. Come on. Winning the league with PSG is literally the most easiest thing you could do. I would love to be a manager and just given the team as PSG have.
Well, Dowd, you couldn't have picked a worse moment in the season to say that, because currently PSG are not top and we're well into the season now. They just lost the game yesterday against Lorient, so it's looking like it's not as easy as it seems.
Whose fault is that? That's Tuchel's fault.
How's that Tuchel's fault? Tuchel's at Chelsea now. What are you on about? Like what are you smoking?
Nah, I mean, I see what Dowd's saying, that PSG have kind of fallen off a bit since they made the Champions League final. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's Tuchel's fault. I mean, I think it's a bit dismissive of the teams around PSG in the league that have vastly improved. I mean, the French league is not as weak as it once was, and teams like Lyon and Lille and
it's got a decent got a decent top 3, but obviously the remain, when the thing about League One or League One, if you want to be more cultural, is that the bottom 6 teams are absolutely tragic. They're probably competing at championship standard, but in the top half of the table, maybe the top 7, those teams can hang in the Premier League. And Lyon, if you put Lyon and Lille in the Premier League, they'll be in the top 8. And I don't even know if that's a praiseworthy sentence
top
for the
league.
Top 8.
Come on, are you being serious?
They're good teams, and but look how stacked the Premier League is, man. All the money, the other divisions wish they could bring in as much revenue. I mean, Newcastle splashing 40 million on Joe Linton, who's awful. It's just embarrassing in a way. So it's. I don't want to get too much into a league versus league discussion, but just to go back to Thomas Tuchel and I wouldn't blame him for PSG's struggles. But I think Ali is right. I think Chelsea fans have a lot to look forward to, and the reason that they should be excited the most is that maybe they'll be able to salvage the Havertz and Werner transfers, because with Lampard, those 2 transfers were not looking good.
I watched the game yesterday against Burnley, who, by the way, gave one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a Premier League club. I think that kind of went under the radar a bit. But yeah, they looked like a completely different side from Lampard. The passing was more, had more intent behind it. And I know he's barely been there, and maybe it is just the new manager bounce rather than his work on the training ground. But like Ali said, his resume is very, very impressive. It shadows Lampard's, tenfold. So yeah, I mean, Chelsea fans have a lot to look forward to. And to be honest, I kind of want to see him do well. I mean, he comes across really well in his interviews. He even, was playing a bit of a joke on the the Chelsea revolving door of managers, saying, if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not. Like, it is what it is. Like, he knows that he probably won't be here long. But yeah, I mean, and you know what? It just adds again to the pedigree of coaches in the league now. I mean, it's just unbelievable in the Premier League. So it's a good addition.
You know what? With Thomas Tuchel, he's not here for a long time. He's here for a good time. He's here to win trophies because that's what Chelsea want. That's it really. He had issues at Dortmund, had issues with Mainz, had issues with PSG. He's always had issues, so it's not going to really matter. He's here to win trophies, and he's going to rock and roll Chelsea to the top again.
That's what any club wants. Imagine going for a job interview and then saying, "Oh yeah, so we want you here to win trophies," and you're like, "Well, no, mate. Why would you want to get me in this room anyways for an interview? You're just talking the obvious, man." What can he bring? What other players have said underneath him? They've said that the way Thomas Tuchel sometimes gives you advice, the way he wants you to play, sometimes does not make sense. He's very, very harsh. Now, there's a lot of players that haven't listened to him in the past, and obviously wherever they fell through,
bro,
a lot of the players that have actually stuck by him.
What are you on about?
The little nuances of what Thomas Tuchel wants. They have thrived underneath him. Now, it's
can you give me examples of
not
those players?
Chelsea going to give him enough time to get all those egos that will listen to him and that won't listen to him in and out of the door.
Was it 5 years ago?
Oh, that's a big claim. I think everyone listening to this podcast,
I'll have to find them. They're all from Mainz.
Those Mainz players exist.
Man, Dowd, man, you're so frustrated, man.
I mean, the evidence points to the contrary. I mean, he had a great working relationship with Pulisic at Dortmund. Thiago Silva was captain under him at PSG, so already there's like two key players for Chelsea that are probably relishing to work under him again. And to be honest, he seems like the kind of manager that knows how to manage egos as well. I mean, PSG, as easy as the league is for them in recent years, they've got a lot of star players, and it's always one of those things where some managers that can't make it at the top, it's not because they're tactically inept. It's just that their management isn't suited to big high-profile players. So he's proven he can do that, and his resume as a tactical manager already speaks for itself. So I don't really see, time will prove whoever right, but I really don't see any pessimism.
I personally believe that the tactical side of it, he hasn't proven himself yet in the top echelons of actually getting.
He was in the Champions League final 3 months ago, man. What are you on about?
Man.
Exactly, he couldn't even win the final with his team.
Bro, it was against a world-class Bayern Munich team.
Also, he won the Pokal in the dominant Bayern era that we're currently going through. Tuchel as well, you've got to know that when losing his job at PSG wasn't just purely results-driven. I think he made a very interesting, kind of snarky comment when he left the job, and he said, being the manager of PSG, it's not just always about the football. There's extra pressure that you have to deal with. I think he was alluding to the fact that, with their ownership, there's things going on, like they're forcing them to do stuff, the corporate side of things, and there's just always pressures to kind of make them happy, and it's not just about football results. And I just think he wanted out of that environment where Chelsea, to be honest, he's put himself into a hostile environment again. Maybe not to the level of PSG, but Chelsea just, you never think of Chelsea and think about stability, even though it's kind of odd because Chelsea's model runs on a very chaotic turnover of management staff and playing staff, but they're always winning trophies, always. They're always successful ever since Abramovich bought them. So it works, doesn't it? It's quite unique. I've never seen a club thrive on so much change like Chelsea. Everyone else seems to suffer for it.
Yeah, but how many of them would you say Abramovich unfairly got rid? I can only think of Conte in recent times, to be honest, and maybe Rafa to an extent.
Ancelotti.
But to be honest, yeah, okay, but that was what?
You got sacked in Bogs at Goodson Park, the irony.
Quite a while ago. Yeah, so it works, but it's Lampard is probably the most, I know he was a club legend, and the results weren't that bad, but if you look at last season, right, Lampard looked his way into third. Chelsea did not play in a way that merited that position. Leicester shit the bed and, Chelsea capitalised, which, to be fair to him, give him some credit for that, but it was never going to be sustainable, and they had to kick on this season to secure top 4 again. And I think Chelsea did the right thing by getting rid of him. Yeah, he's a club legend. Yeah, he's done a lot for the club, but they wouldn't have gotten top 4, maybe not even top 6 the way he was playing, to be honest. the last few games, they were just all that attacking talent, and they could barely create chances.
The cynical side of me thinks that they brought Lampard in because they wanted a manager like him to oversee the period of no transfers in the youth introductions. Like, they didn't want a top class manager to kind of suffer his winning percentage or something by saying, okay, you handle the transfer ban, you handle all these kids. Whereas Lampard, it's like club legend, motivation, boost for the fans. He did what he did and got Champions League, and now they're serious and wanting to win things again because they splashed so much cash on Havertz and Werner. And I think that like they're saying, oh, well, we can't let this investment go to waste. We can't let Lampard kind of ruin Werner's confidence to the point. By the way, I'm not saying that Lampard is the reason for Werner's struggles. These things are more complicated than that. But what I mean is that they thought, okay, we'll get another manager in, a more proven manager, and he'll make the best of this squad that we've just so heavily invested in. So we'll see how things go. We'll see if Ali's prediction about Chelsea winning the league under him next year comes true. He can have the bragging rights. But finishing off the podcast for this week, I've got an interesting segment for you guys where, I mean, it's a very basic question, but what is your favourite type of football goal? And I want you to approach it from the, a two-way perspective. One being what you prefer to watch when you're watching professionals do their thing, and one being the one that you prefer to score when you yourself are playing football. Daud, I'd like to kick things off with you. So, tell us what's the favourite type of goal you like when you're watching the matches, and then the one that you like to score yourself when you're playing.
Well, I think anybody who knows me knows that my favourite type of goal I do myself as well, because obviously I don't have a left foot. I train myself to actually use my right foot as a Rabona. Well, as a Rabona, does that make sense? But yeah, my favourite type of goal is Rabona. But recently I've really liked the Panenka finish in for penalties. I don't know if that counts, but that is just ultimate
yeah, it goes
big goalness.
What's the best Rabona you guys have ever seen in terms of professionals? I know that there was a really sweet one from Lamela a few years ago in the Europa League. I feel like that technique is more suited towards crossing the ball, doesn't it? Like a winger likes to think, oh, the fullback's got me. He thinks he's got me my weak foot. Let me quickly hit out the Rabona and dish the cross into the box. But there's not that many goals that I can think of in professional football with a Rabona technique.
All I know is I've scored plenty of Rabona goals in my I don't know, my non-professional days. But yeah, you're right. It's mainly left for actually crossing, and Ronaldo was really good at it. Hazard was really, really good at it. I can't remember exact examples, but there's only been a very few Rabona goals that I've seen.
We have to mention this. It wasn't even a cross, and it wasn't even a goal. But it's such a famous failed Rabona from David Dunn when he was at Birmingham City. One of the funniest clips. You'll have seen it in viral videos. You just probably won't put the name to the face.
I think I've seen it before. There's been quite a few hilarious fails of Rabona. It's quite hard to do.
This one is so funny. First of all, David Dunn, bro, you should. A name like David Dunn should only be allowed to do a 5 yards pass, not even a long one, just a 5 yards pass. You call David Dunn. That's the starting point. The second point, he's a very pudgy, stocky player who plays for Birmingham City. What are you doing trying the Rabona? And he really ate egg on the face because he fell over doing it, and it's obviously now in those like Benny Hill theme music YouTube compilations. So it's probably his biggest regret in his football career, to be honest. He's probably been relegated before, but doing that Rabona, I can only imagine. It was David Dunn's biggest regret. So I'll move it on to the next guy. Qudama, can you tell us a bit more about your favourite football goals in terms of watching them and scoring them?
Yeah, so my favourite football goal to watch is a team goal executed to perfection. Because when you're playing football, it's probably the least type of goal you see happen because, the level we play at is
tiki-taka football.
So you're not going to see team moves.
Tiki-taka.
Yeah, not necessarily tiki-taka, but like 1-2 quick touch football. Probably the most recent example I can think of was that by Borussia Dortmund goal, where Haaland got on to the end of Sancho's cross. I don't know if you guys saw that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think it was against Leverkusen. Just something like that. Probably the pinnacle of that is Giroud. Was it Giroud or Wilshere? Right. No, it was Wilshere's goal against Norwich for Arsenal. I think it was still under Arsene Wenger at the Emirates. Where, that's probably one of my favourite goals I've ever seen, to be honest. And the reason that I love technical goals so much is because I'm saying it's kind of the goals you can't do yourself on the football pitch. And Like they're just so fun to watch. They've like these, to see a team on the same wavelength. 5, 6, 7 people just passing it around for fun.
I agree. To be honest,
My
actually put the Giroud goal. Oh, sorry, the Wilshere goal. I should add. We keep saying Giroud because he played such a beautiful part of it. You think the goal counts?
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
definitely.
the best Premier League goal ever seen. Honestly, I'll say that now.
Yeah, it's actually just majestic to watch sometimes. Like, it definitely deserves to be in the conversation for the best Premier League goal of all time. But to answer your second part of that question, my favourite type of goal to score is a solo dribble. When you're playing football, as fun as it is to win as a team, and I've played like, in leagues where, we've won, my favourite goal is the one where it gets everyone just like looking at you. So, I'm not going to say the Sunday League Alan Saint Maximin or anything, but I could dribble a decent ball every now and again. So when it comes off and you don't end up stumbling over your own feet, and you manage to make it past 2 or 3 defenders and slot it past the keeper, and you're just playing on a high for the rest of the game, that's probably my favourite type of goal to score. I will disclaimer that 9 times out of 10 it probably ends up with embarrassment, but and in your own team cursing you for giving the ball away. But when it comes off, man, you just feel that high, unmatched.
Yeah, to be honest, there's nothing like the solo dribble.
I totally
really.
agree.
No, there is, like, in football, whenever you do anything well, your ego will boost. You'll think you're Ronaldo for the next 20 minutes. That's just how it is, isn't it, on the football pitch? Like, even winning like a 50-50, you'll look at the other guy and you're like, yeah, I just absolutely destroyed you in that 50-50. So to do the very, very top tier of that, which is a solo dribble goal, having to take on... Because you've got to remember as well when you're playing, I mean, unless everyone listening to this is a seasoned 11-a-side player, most of our experiences are 7-a-side or 5-a-side, so the spaces are more congested. So you actually have to rely on really nifty footwork to manage to do it. It's not just a case of knock and run like an Adama Traore type with the pace. So yeah, I mean, you're right. The feelings that you get from scoring it, and also the flip side, the feeling you get from conceding against someone who does that. You'll hate that player for the rest of the match. You'll have it out for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Ali, what about yourself?
Right,
in terms of watching and scoring goals?
I love counter-attacking goals, especially from corners. Watching Liverpool over the years do it over and over again. Salah just did one this weekend where Curtis Jones had the ball, he whipped it to Shaqiri, and Shaqiri just passed it, like got to Salah, and Salah just whipped it in the net. I was like, oh my gosh, that just happened against West Ham.
Yeah,
that was a beautiful counter-attacking goal. Absolutely beautiful.
Counter-attacking goals, and it's just like, wow, like I just appreciate it so much, and that you have a nice, beautiful 1-2 touch football, you have the lovely solo goals. I appreciate quick counter-attacking football.
That cross that Shaqiri did was the most crucial bit of that attack, in my personal opinion. It was, I was linking it to Jamal Lewis crossing it to Wilson. That was a absolutely point perfect cross. So was Shaqiri's.
Yeah, I agree.
Shaqiri's was good, but you want to talk about Mo Salah bringing that down on his weak foot. That's high level skill right there, because a lot of players would still mess up that Shaqiri pass, not because the pass was rubbish, but you need such a high level of technical ability to control that the way Salah did. And it wasn't just controlling it to retain like control, but it set up the perfect finish, man. Mohamed Salah gets a lot of criticism from time to time. He doesn't really go through too many bad spells of form, but I think he's overly criticised. The guy's just a phenomenal player, and watching Liverpool over the last few seasons, I agree, Ali. There's been some beautiful counter-attacks. I can remember one when the football resumed after lockdown in March, and it was Chelsea against Liverpool, I believe, when Robertson just flew down. That was so scary. I was, anytime I see a counter-attack, I actually get vicariously scared for the players who are defending it, because
it's lethal.
The example I can think of during Mbappe's run against Argentina in the World Cup 2018. Man, Marcos Rojo was taken to the shops and back. That was a terrifying counter-attack. Watching the play.
That resulted in a penalty, though, didn't it? It didn't end up in a goal.
But I mean, just the act of
the impact of
counter-attacking. Yeah, you're right.
Counter-attacking plays it's great.
They're absolutely aesthetically satisfying and pleasing for sure. I think my favourite counter-attacking goal I've seen, just to stay on, just on the topic of counter-attacks, I don't know if anyone remembers, prime Mourinho at Madrid. I think it was against Ajax, that counter-attack with Ozil and leading it and Benzema finishing it, I think it was at the end. My days, has anyone seen a counter-attack more perfectly executed than that one? Just breakneck speed, down the middle of the pitch. Absolutely beautiful. I miss that Mourinho, to be honest. We touched on him being a bit past it. earlier in the podcast, and I do agree with that to some extent.
Yeah,
But man, when his teams were set up properly in his prime, man, they could do damage.
yeah,
on the
you may
counter.
never see that again. What about the type of goal that you like to score, Ali, yourself?
Well, I don't really play much football. I never really like scoring goals. I like taking people's legs out. But the type of goal, the type of goal I did appreciate, and I do appreciate our headers. It's just the way you have to leap up and just get in the net and angle it in. Yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan, but I watched Alan Shearer as well growing up, and I just saw quite a few of them going in.
Yeah.
I just appreciate headers so much.
To be honest, headers are absolutely they're always very fun to watch. To be honest, more from open play scenarios. I feel like headers from corners, you expect it to happen, so there's no real magic in that. But when you see a beautifully flighted cross in from open play and a player guiding his header into the top bins, you're right. There's something satisfying.
RVP 2014 World Cup is a perfect example of it.
Cristiano Ronaldo against Manchester United, where he pretty much jumps triple the height of Evra. I don't know if anyone if you remember.
I'll be honest,
goal.
the way Ronaldo jumps,
Absolutely
it's absolutely ridiculous. You're right. Yeah, there's a certain athletic art to it, and the technical art. The one for Van Persie in the World Cup was beautiful. In my personal experience, because I'll give my list now, because I was tragic at headers. I can play with my feet very well when I was playing football, but heading, forget about it. And my favourite type of goal to score was always rounding the goalkeeper. Because rounding the goalkeeper, it's like
pure filth.
You haven't just scored a goal. It's not like, because if you finish past the keeper, that's a 50-50. He's like, okay, whatever, I'm 1v1. But you want to humiliate him with that extra step. So I'm so much better than you that I'm going to take it past you and humiliate you. It's such a satisfying feeling. And keepers hate it, man. When keepers get rounded, they can't stand it. So having that split-second moment where everything slows down, you've got to stay composed. The keeper's there. You're like, okay, I can just do a quick shift. He's gone. He's going to try and dive. And it's especially tricky to do it on a 7 or a 5-a-side pitch, because most of them have in the rules that you're not allowed to enter the box as an attacker. So what I used to always do was bring the ball up to the edge of the box, get the keeper to drag out to the corner, and just play it around him, but still from outside the box, leaving an open goal with your weak foot, and developed a bit of a habit for it. So rounding the goalkeeper, to be honest, I even love watching it. It doesn't actually happen much in professional football, because obviously defenders are very good, the goalkeepers are very good, they don't expose themselves too much, but it's definitely one of those. In terms of the professional aspect of football, of watching the favourite goal, it's got to be an overhead kick, man. Because overhead kicks, they take you by surprise every time. Players, overhead kicks don't even get attempted for maybe 20 or 30 matches that you watch in a row, maybe even more than that. So when you see one come off and get scored, I don't know if you guys remember of course you do. The Ibrahimovic one against England, come on. In the opening night of that stadium.
Oh, wow.
And did he score 4 goals that night or 3 goals? I can't even remember, but he was just absolutely ridiculous. And that is there a better overhead kick than that Ibrahimovic one, do you guys think?
Ronaldo's against
I don't know if it's better, because it's hard to. The Ibrahimovic one was more physically difficult to pull off, but the keeper was off his line, whereas Ronaldo leaped, however many meters into the air, and it was just like something out of an anime. It was when the kicking leg goes up at a 90-degree angle, it was just picture perfect. And I still remember, I think that was probably the reaction of the Juve fans afterwards, and him saying that was one of the reasons he moved, because of the standing ovation he got after that. Yeah, I think as much as I would say Ibrahimovic is harder, but I would say Ronaldo's is better to watch.
Does anyone remember the one that Philippe Mexes scored for AC Milan in the Champions League? It was a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
A centre back. I would recommend you guys pull it up on YouTube if you don't know it. He did chest controlled it from outside the box, and he got such a sweet contact on it. There's no chance for the keeper, and for a centre back to do that.
I know this one might be a bit painful to bring up for Ali, but Gareth Bale's against Karius in the Champions League final was also a beautiful overhead kick.
No, I disagree, man. Karius's position wasn't as what it should be, really. You just had
but still, because Gareth Bale had to adjust. He was running away. He was running in in parallel to the ball. He had to switch, turn on the spot almost, and leap to connect with that overhead kick.
I admire the attempt, but I don't think it's what Ronaldo did. If we're talking about favourite goals and whatnot, I'll tell you my favourite player, Luis Suarez of all time, and he scored some of the best goals I've ever seen. Yeah,
Luis Suarez in his prime, especially in his Liverpool days, was the catalogue of goals he scored were all so different. That guy scored some unbelievable headers, unbelievable volleys, free kicks. Scored a
He
free
can do
kick
it
on the
all.
weekend.
He can
Sometimes
do it all.
commentators like to talk about a class player by saying he's having a goal of the season competition all on his own. But Suarez had a goal against the same opposition competition all on his own when he was destroying Norwich every single match. Man, the Canaries.
Man, I love
me.
that, man.
The one match I loved was the one where he scored the free kick, he scored the really long distance volley, and then he scored the one that he needed
The
to
header.
flick the ball over one of the opposition, and it was like a half volley side angle. Oh my god, man! Those goals were so high quality.
He scored so many quality goals. It's just unbelievable.
This is a different debate that I'd be happy to open the floor for next time. We don't have enough time for this week, but maybe we should debate on who had the best patch of form ever as a Premier League player. And I think that Suarez run is probably more magical than anything I've ever seen in the Premier League. It's probably a bit of short-termism in my opinion, and we'll get into a more research debate the next time. But that was just ridiculous. I've never seen a player play like Suarez did in those few months. A really good debate, lads. Thanks for coming on this week. Dowd, I always like to leave this last part to you where you can tell everyone where to follow us.
Yeah, of course. So thanks again, everybody. This is our third week of recording COVID secure online, and sorry again if there's any technical audio qualities that are not up to our usual excellent standard. But hopefully we're going to get to a stage where it's going to be seamless, and hopefully when lockdown eases in terms of pressure for workplaces, we're going to be back to our normal places. So as usual, you can always find us all on all the major hosting platforms for podcasts, so Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Instagram, The Dressing Room 9, and Facebook is usually the best place to find whenever we release a new episode. So it just follows on The Dressing Room, and we've also got a YouTube channel which we upload the episodes on there as well, and on there it's just The Dressing Room as well. So yeah, thanks again guys, and everybody else say thank. See you later.
Take care, lads. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers.